So Israel is not a willing participant in this. The question of peace in the region depends entirely on the United States, not on Israel. Israel is unwilling. It has its agenda. It thinks that it has Donald Trump in its pocket, and they may be right.
The Gaza ceasefire is a total failure. That's what Jeffrey Sachs here is saying to Andrew Napolitano, and he gets into the reasons why this doesn't solve the long-term crisis and turmoil between the Palestinians and Israelis, why Donald Trump's attachment to Israel is stopping that potential, and what the only political solution there is to peace in the region. Let's watch. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
We're now a month after the Witkoff, Kushner, Tony Blair as Governor General of Gaza so-called peace plan. Are you satisfied it's a failure and the Netanyahu regime never had an intention to comply with phase 2 or phase 3?
Well, Netanyahu certainly doesn't have any intention. So anything that depends on Israel being a willing partner of the next phases isn't going to work. What Israel wants is absolutely clear. It could not be more vivid. It wants complete control over the Palestinian lands permanently, and it wants continued ethnic cleansing or any other means to achieve that complete control. So Israel continues to kill Palestinians in very large numbers, both in Gaza and on the West Bank. It continues demolitions, destroying buildings in Gaza. It continues confiscating land and property in the West Bank. So Israel is not a willing participant in this. The question of peace in the region depends entirely on the United States, not on Israel. Israel is unwilling. It has its agenda. It thinks that it has Donald Trump in its pocket, and they may be right.
Yeah, I have to agree, and this isn't even hyperbole. Israel's killed 356 documented Palestinians since this ceasefire was enacted. And guess what? Israel has over 500 violations of the ceasefire with various incursions and airstrikes and limiting aid. They were supposed to allow 600 trucks into Gaza, but then constrained that down to 300. I don't know if the reins have been loosened since then, but not much has really changed other than this ceasefire that wasn't going to address the base crux of this crisis, and that's that the Palestinians are a subjugated people. They are subjugated by the Israelis, and the United States sides with the Israelis no matter what. So I think Sachs is right. This all comes down to an American mindset. We know what the Israeli mindset is going to be. They don't even make it a mystery when Smotrich and Ben-Gvir talk about settlements in Gaza that will be Israeli settlements. They don't even make it a mystery. We know what's to come from this without any kind of two-state solution, and it's not been good.
Did Trump bite off more than he can chew? I mean, can he realistically enforce a permanent ceasefire and restructure of the governance of Gaza and deal with the political and financial blowback that will come his way here in the U.S.?
He could, but he does not yet have anything like that in hand. The way that success could be achieved is a political solution to the Israel-Palestine conflict. A political solution, as we discuss almost weekly, is a state of Palestine alongside the state of Israel. Trump has not backed that, even though more than 180 countries in the world actively back that, even though more than 150 countries recognize the state of Palestine. Without that, there is no political solution.
Yeah, I have to agree with them generally here. You can have a pie-in-the-sky attitude that, you know, Israel should be one country and everyone should have equal rights, even the Palestinians in the West Bank and the Gazans, and that seems to be a pretty moral case to be made there, but the Israelis won't allow that either. And I think there's a greater chance they won't allow that than even a two-state solution, which they won't allow either, but their preference is not to have Palestinians counter their election process such that you have Palestinians in the Israeli government. That's what they don't want most of all. So yeah, there is a political solution here, and I'm not much for political solutions. I'll let you guys know that. You guys probably know that if you do watch my content, but when you're ordering the types of solutions that are available to you in times like this where there is a genocide, I typically favor the political solutions over the military subjugation genocide solutions. So that's what needs to happen here. I don't think there's going to be addressing the causes for animosity between the Israelis and Palestinians without that. But Netanyahu's doubled down on that, said there will never be that, and the United States continues to support Israel regardless. That's the problem. Yes, Trump does technically have the ability to impose a permanent ceasefire. Just stop funding the Israelis. Stop having their backs. Stop getting dragged into wars versus Iran. But he won't, because he's Israel first. This administration is captured by Miriam Adelson and the Israel lobby that side with Israel every single time, to the point that they allow the ambassador to Israel to just meet with Jonathan Pollard, a convicted Israeli spy that took secrets from within the United States naval intelligence apparatus and sent them to Israel.
And therefore, there is no peace. There's no disarmament of Hamas. There's no way forward. So if you say, could Trump do this? Yes, if there's a political solution. Then ask the question, could he do that politically in the U.S.? Yes, and in a way, yes, in the sense that the American people, to the extent that we count anymore, would strongly support that. Every opinion survey shows the American people want the U.S. government to recognize the state of Palestine. The American people want the United States to stop supporting Israel's slaughter. So from the point of view of voting, from the point of view of his base, from the point of view of American public opinion, he could do this. But then there would be obviously the Zionist lobby, which is powerful. And as president, he would have to face that down.
Exactly right, and that is what is stopping it. It's not a desire to get away from this genocide. I think deep down inside, Trump doesn't want this to stain his legacy. But at the same time, what can he do when his biggest donors were Zionists like Miriam Adelson? He has to continue to double down on these atrocities, and it's pretty freaking sickening when you get to the heart of what that means. It means that we, the American taxpayer, are on the hook financially for this genocide, for these continued killing sprees, even during a ceasefire that Trump never just leverages the United States' power over Israeli aid to stop. Never any threat of any aid stopping. You know, they can do whatever they want. They can even bomb another U.S. ally, Qatar, and, kill some people, and it won't be any bones about it. There's no problem with that. All the aid continues to flow into war criminal Netanyahu's coffers. And by the way, let's also plead with the Knesset for him to be pardoned from corruption and fraud charges that he would have gone down for prior to October 7th. That is what you're getting from the U.S. government. Trump is probably the most beholden president to Israel ever, and that is quite a contest, by the way, but this is just capture by the Israel lobby.
Could he do that? Of course he could. That's the job of leadership. Is he going to do that? Much more doubtful.
How divided and demoralized is the Israeli public as we speak?
Well, I think the demoralization is very high, but there is no leadership in Israel for a political solution. So waiting for Israel to say, oh, we made a mistake, we need a state of Palestine, is waiting forever. The public deeply dislikes Netanyahu. The institutions are all under extreme duress. The divides in Israeli society are very deep, but there is no political way forward emanating from within Israeli society. What there is, to a really amazing extent, is a global consensus on what should happen. the global consensus, which doesn't include the US, but includes virtually all the rest of the world, is that there should be a state of Palestine and Israel should return to its borders of the 4th of June, 1967. This has been voted repeatedly this year in the UN General Assembly. It is the ruling of the International Court of Justice. It was the unanimous opinion of the UN Security Council, except for the US veto. So the way forward is not a mystery, but it's blocked by the United States and opposed by Israel. The difference is the US has a veto in these processes. Israel only has opposition. These solutions could be imposed on Israel and should be imposed on Israel.
Yeah, absolutely so. And to be clear here, the only way in which I'll depart from Sachs, I think he's brilliant and is exactly right, is I don't even care if there was 0 countries that wanted to provide a peaceful 2-state solution to rectify this. I would still support it. So yeah, you can use that as a leverage point. There is something of an international consensus that supports this idea, going back to 1967 borders, not allowing Israel to illegally occupy the West Bank and Gaza. That's a great idea that actually would get to the heart of solving this conflict. But I don't really care about the international consensus. My orientation is more toward my country and what tarnishes my country, and that is this association. And again, I would have this opinion if no other countries agreed with this mentality. But still, I don't mind that being used as an argument. I'm just saying that this ceasefire isn't doing it, and Trump's attachment to Israel isn't going to do it. It's clearly hurting him, and all the issues that are residuals or peripheral to that issue are hurting it, particularly the Epstein cover-up, when more and more Americans are waking up to the fact that Epstein had connections to the Israeli intelligence community. If you don't believe me on that, go to the great Ryan Grimm and Murtaza Hussein's site, Drop Site News. They've done like a 7 or 8 part series about all the proven connections between Israel and Epstein in terms of Epstein actually working for Israel. So we have that eating away at Trump's approval rating, all the Israel first mentality in terms of a warped prioritization, because for some Americans, they don't, pay that much attention to what happens in Israel or U.S. policy pertaining to Israel, but some of those Americans still take notice that this is just a warped set of priorities when this country somehow comes before our country, when Americans are languishing, costs are rising, the job market's essentially frozen. They didn't even release a report in October, a jobs report, probably because it's totally stagnant and they don't want that getting out. All these things are affecting Americans at a deep level, and when people see this guy that preached the America First mantra, that's what he wanted to make the cornerstone of his platform, especially when you do that and then you prioritize another foreign country, more people take notice, and that is what is eating away at his support. So Sachs is generally right. I don't think this ceasefire, will last. It hasn't even truly lasted in terms of its, de facto characteristics, because Israel keeps violating it, but it won't solve the issue at its deepest and darkest roots. And that's that Israel has this people held captive. They've had them held captive since 1967. They didn't deoccupy Israel in kind in the mid-2000s. They kept the blockade. They kept them in subjugation. They kept aid from entering in. They kept people from getting basic necessities to live. And they have a twisted judicial system that doesn't give people the same rights. That's just the truth. But we'll see what happens. I see this ceasefire breaking down just like basically all the other ones that Israel and Netanyahu have violated, and I don't think U.S. leverage will be used to withdraw aid when it does, and I say when for a reason. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think Sachs is right? Is Trump's attachment to Israel particularly dangerous? What is going to resolve this conflict in the end? Are we just going to get Israeli settlements in Gaza and a completion of the ethnic cleansing? Is Israel going to fall itself under the animus that's been raised in neighboring countries based on what they've done? Is the U.S. system going to be attached to Israel forever? Let me know in the comments down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, also subscribe to Judge Napolitano. Awesome video. I really appreciated it. Also, if you like this video and my take, please consider joining as a YouTube member. You can do that by clicking the join button below. And if you do that, you can gain immediate access to all my members only content, and you'll be able to see all my videos before they go live to the general public, and I'll really appreciate that if you do. Also, if you want a free copy of my first book, Compact of the Republic, click the link in the description below. It'll shoot you off to a website. You just plug in your email. I'll send you that PDF free of charge, no obligation, just because I appreciate your support. And until I see you guys next time, no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. Peace out, guys. Catch you in the next one.